Good morning, everybody. My name is Petar Iankov. I'm from Bulgarian Society for the Protection of Birds, BirdLife Bulgaria, and I represent also the Nature Conservation Center Poda, situated here next to Burgas. And the subject of my presentation is slightly, how to say, funny. Can delicate terns, can they bring sustainability to a wetland? But people know how fragile and how delicate are the terns. And almost the same is to find, the same is such a difficult task to find ways to sustainability. Few words about Poda Lagoon. It's a coastal wetland, very small in area, about 1 square kilometer, located almost within the city of Burgas, and part of the 3 big wetlands in our city, Burgas Wetland Complex. It's mainly reed bed marshland. As you can see, it is situated within a very heavily populated area and with increasing trend with this respect. The area was proposed in 1989 to the Bulgarian government by our organization, and since that time we were officially assigned with its management. Few words about the conservation values. I will not get into big details. You can see the text. One of the biggest value is from Bulgarian perspective, it is that here is the only colony along the Bulgarian Black Sea coast of several species of birds of European importance in the bird directive, and birds which are included in Bulgarian Red Data book. Same should be said about some of the habitats which occur in the area, plants, invertebrates, and interestingly, but this 1 square kilometer is the place in Bulgaria with the highest species diversity on such surface, 370 species on 1 square kilometer. Of course, I don't oppose the fact that Atanasovo Lake is with the most species in Bulgaria, 334. So, in general, Burgas is the place with the biggest diversity of birds in Bulgaria. Which are the main protection tools of Poda Lagoon, Poda protected area? It was protected under the national legislation. It was designated as a Ramsar site in year 2002. After accession of Bulgaria to EU, it was designated under the both directives, bird directive and habitat directives. It is also Kurini biotop site. And one of the last but not the least conservation tool we consider to be the wetland or nature conservation center which we established there, because we believe that one site can be really preserved only with permanent presence of staff. It's obviously the same understanding of the government of Bulgaria, of the state, as the most important protected areas in Bulgaria, which are strict reserves, national parks, nature parks, with the law, with the Biodiversity Act, are also subject of such management, with management bodies. Well, to exist something in the future, it is necessary to get some sustainability. We will hear lots of times this word. And how we try to achieve this. As I said, our first step was to establish management structure, BSPB Policy Center. We were lucky to develop the first, probably, or the second for Bulgaria management plan for a protected site in 1997, although it was officially accepted, officially adopted by the government in year 2002, we, of course, one of the main efforts were directed to enforce the protection of the area physically on the terrain, also collecting data to create scientific basis for our conservation activities. And we are very happy to have, unlikely in many cases in Bulgaria, to have very good cooperation with the state authority here in Burgas. This is a regional regional inspection of environment of water, which traditionally supports and help to our efforts to protect the area. And one of the first tools which we tried to implement was the bird watching. We will see later how this happened. What is the main threat? There are many threats as for any place, protected area, but the main threat, as everywhere, is underfunding. And it is common threat for all protected areas in the world, but also common tool for common threat to nature conservation as a whole. Maybe just one country, Costa Rica, showed to the moment that the government give high priority to nature conservation. Of course, the rest of the countries in the world has much more high priorities, and the nature conservation is far from this. Poda is managed by a non-governmental organization, which is also explaining why we are underfunded. One thing which is difficult for people, for experts from many countries, especially in Western Europe, to understand is that in a country like Bulgaria, post-totalitarian country, where the society is totally different from the society of the Western country, the not so favorable economical conditions are big limitation to sustainability. To be more specific, lack of middle class, lack of young people, lack of people who are traveling every Saturday, every weekend, everywhere, which is normal for every normal country in the Western Europe, but it's not existing in Bulgaria. Lack of middle rich people which are keen to give contribution for nature or for other causes. So, and of course, the ill which is affecting all nature conservation NGOs, this is the project dependence of our organizations. We were lucky also to have, from the very beginning, a lot of lessons by different bodies. First of all, we were lucky to become a member of BirdLife International in 1992, so we get a lot of expertise, a lot of know-how thanks to this partnership. And again, maybe you know that the philosophy of BirdLife International is very different from the philosophy of many other organizations, world organizations. In spite of spending some money for concrete, specific conservation actions on the field, on the ground, BirdLife International is spending maybe more funds to create organizations, to establish organizations, to learn them to be independent, to raise their money, and again we were also from the very beginning listening very often the word sustainability. Work to ensure your own sources and to be independent from outside funding. A great role with this had the RSPB, Royal Society for the Protection of Birds in Britain, which not only were teaching us, not only were sharing their experience, but also they were making practical steps, just sending birdwatching groups to Bulgaria and helping us with this respect. I'm going further. Of course, BSPB had its own role and its own lessons. How to increase? I mentioned some of the tools, how to increase our sustainability. Birdwatching, we get to another traditional tool, photographic heights, which we give under rent. Platforms for terns, which initially were designed to be purely conservation tool, but they appeared that they are creating interest in the people towards the site and to the birds, which is also a good element. Of course, they were giving us opportunity to strengthen our membership with these conservation camps and to have some international help through the system of internship students from other countries. But I didn't say anything for the moment about the common tern. Common tern was a common species for our protected site, although it is included in the Bulgarian Red Data book. As I said, from the very beginning, we start to provide them with artificial platforms to breed. Sometimes they cause problems, chasing out some other bird species which we do prefer to be there, like avocet or black-winged stilt. And they also themselves had some problems, and they were in general, with the short life of the platforms. They were done by wooden materials, wood, and after a few years they had to be repaired, and this was connected with some efforts and funds from our side. That is why we came to some specific approaches. In general, after approving this, after experimental platform, we start to do a specific way of doing these platforms with a metal grid covered by such teals, which were donated, and they are not really possible to be used in the building activities. And through this, we ensured both terns and our budget with about 10-15 years, no more funds for these more stable platforms. So thank you for your attention.